Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Blair Nicol with FranNet, and welcome to the FranNet General Business and Franchise Ownership webinar. A lot of times we like to call this webinar Careers in Business and Franchise Ownership. Basically, this webinar is designed for people who are just looking to start at franchise ownership, just trying to learn about it, learn about all the resources that are available to them, how to properly research franchises, where's the financing coming from, what are the trends. So basically, it's designed for you to learn everything you need to know about franchising, so kind of a franchising 101 course. And by the end, which will be in about an hour or so, it'll get you to the point where you're able to ask yourself, hey, do I think business or franchise ownership is a good next step for me? If so, now I know what to do and what's ahead of me. Or two, hey, I've learned this isn't right for me. Now I can check the box and move on. So let's get started. So a little bit about me. This is my family and I. We currently reside in Bend, Oregon. FranNet Pacific Northwest primarily emphasizes on Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Alaska. But FranNet's a national company. I also oversee the Southern California offices along with my brother, Nicol, for FranNet. So I've been in franchising for about 25 plus years. Majority of that started with the company many, many years ago, back in the mid 80s with my father and my brother and I, a company by the name of Mailboxes, etc., which most of you know, which is now named the UPS store. We were what were called the master franchisees or area franchisees for Southern California. We had that in a few pilot locations down there. And we sold that company to UPS back in the 90s, along with the other master franchisees. At that time, I joined FranNet, and FranNet is one of the largest, most respected franchise consulting companies in the world. We've been in business since the mid 80s, and we have helped tens of thousands, if not into the hundreds of thousands of people purchase franchises over those years. I started off in the San Diego area, then grew throughout Southern California, eventually acquired the Pacific Northwest for FranNet. And then three other gentlemen and I purchased the parent company. So not only am I a multi-unit franchisee of FranNet, and have owned other franchises, but I'm also a franchisor technically. The vice chairman of the board, been doing that since about 2006. So technically FranNet is a franchise as well, but we generally don't sell franchise within FranNet anymore, as we've been sold out for many, many, many years. But we do have offices throughout the country in just about every major city in North America. And like I said, we've helped a lot of people purchase franchises over the years. So here's the agenda for the hour that we're going to spend together today. We're going to talk about the elephant in the room. Look, this webinar is being recorded during the COVID-19 era, which is constantly evolving, constantly changing. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. It's only prudent to do so. And then we'll kind of get into our normal agenda that we cover when we normally do this workshop. So this workshop is usually done live in person. We work very closely with the Small Business Administration, Service Corps retired executives, the major outplacement firms like Lee Hecht Harrison and Right Management, the departments of labor throughout the state, universities, accountants, attorneys, financial advisors, you name it. We're usually doing this presentation many, many, many times, but of course it's all done online right now. So when we normally do this, we will talk about why do people go into business? Why do people not go into business? What are the options for getting into business and the pros and cons of each methodology? The risks and rewards. Then we'll talk the myths and realities of franchising. There's a lot of myths associated with franchising, of what people think franchising is. So we'll kind of go over that so you have a clear picture of what franchising really means and what it's all about. And then we'll spend most of our time on the second to last bullet point and the last bullet point, which is, hey, out of the sea of franchises that are out there, how do you find the franchise that's right for you? And then also, how do you build your personal business model? And then, by the way, as a quick note, you want to have your phone handy with the ability to capture a QSR code. You'll see here towards the end of the presentation, because there is an assessment tool that our clients take. You'll be able to access that assessment tool using the QR code at the end of this presentation. So do have your iPhone or regular phone ready towards the end of this presentation. So basically what we do is we're of no cost to you. Now, a lot of people ask, well, how are you compensated for your services? So we are paid by the franchisors. So we're of no cost to you. And basically the easiest way to describe what we do is think of us as kind of the eHarmony of franchising. You know, we have the franchisors on one side who are looking for good, qualified, potential franchisees for their systems. And then we have the general public that comes to us and says, hey, I think I want to own a business or a franchise. I don't know which one. Help assess me, help gauge which ones are going to be right for me, and then we're the matchmaker in the middle. And then we help coach you and educate you through the research process throughout the entire way so that you can make a good, safe, wise decision. So we offer prospect choices that they can make informed decisions. And we do pre-screen the franchises that we work with. We just don't work with any type of franchise out there. They have to meet our standards. They have to meet, our clients have to also meet the franchisor standards. And so know that we don't sell franchises. So like I said, the easiest way to describe what we do is think of us as kind of a matchmaker, and we are not paid by you. So this isn't our first rodeo dealing with COVID-19. So I have done this for, like I said, many, many years. So in the past, I've dealt with our clients as far as the dot-com bust, the September 11th, the Great Recession. Now we're sitting here with COVID-19. So what we see every single time when one of these events happens is our clients will suddenly focus on what we call recession-resistant types of businesses or essential services. These businesses tend to be low cost, low overhead, service-based types of businesses. Also, I would probably put in there, generally not what I call the sexiest of businesses in the world. In other words, they're essential. Now, are they COVID-19 proof? No. Are they recession proof? No. I don't think anything is recession proof, but these businesses tend and have proven to do well in all kinds of economic scenarios, including what we're in the middle of right now, which is COVID-19. So that trend obviously started right around the middle of March, first part of April, and continues through this day in 2020. Now, I will also tell you that we are coming off a record month. So we are sitting in the month of September right now of 2020. August was a record month for 2020. September is shaping up to be an even better month than August. So why is that? So look, how to use this time. Why are people purchasing franchises right now when we're all seeing businesses go out of business or being shuttered? And we get it. Now isn't the time for everybody to go into business ownership. So we have a lot of clients that, back in March or April, hit the brakes. It was a spooky time. Nobody was understanding what was happening. We thought what might happen in the future, and that's starting to pan out. So we had a number of clients that said, hey, look, I'm still interested, but I want to tap the brakes. I want to proceed cautiously. I want to pull the trigger with clarity on COVID-19. I want to know when COVID-19 is going to end. I want to know if the stock market's going to come back up. So you have to be realistic. You have to ask, what is clarity for you? If clarity means, hey, COVID-19 needs to be absolutely eradicated, well, that's probably going to be a long time. And so maybe now isn't the right time to look at business or franchise ownership. But if clarity is, hey, I just need to see the economy going in the right general direction. I need to know that cases aren't exploding around the world. In other words, we're starting to get a grasp and we're starting to get a little bit of clarity, then it should be full steam ahead. Okay, and that's where a lot of our clients fell, is once we got through a few months of COVID-19, they were able to see, okay, I see the path that we're heading, and now's an excellent time to pull the trigger on a business. Why? Because you're able to take advantage of all kinds of different opportunities that weren't available to you prior to March. Look, interest rates are low, vacancies, unfortunately for the demise of a lot of other business owners, have increased. And so therefore costs have lowered. There's possible a huge economic opportunity on the other side, and you'll be ready for it. So you got to remember, you're not in business right now. You're just researching businesses. And if you can find good businesses that match you and what you're looking for in your background, and your skill sets, and your budget, you can pull the trigger on the business and then open the business 6 to 12 months from now, when most likely we're back up and running. So prepare now and then take off when you want. So searching for opportunity is not the same as committing to a purchase. Now, one of the other things that you'll need to really understand in this type of economic environment is, where's the financing coming from? Well, these three companies, Benetrends, Guidant Financial, and FranFund, are the three biggest lenders in the franchising industry. The vast majority of our clients get their financing through these three companies. They handle everything from SBA financing to what's called the ROBS program, where you're able to use funds from your retirement accounts without early withdrawal fees and without penalties. In other words, you kind of become your own bank. They do lines of credit, you name it. So these guys are the experts. These are the people that you will want to reach out to get specific information on financing, we're happy to connect you to them. Okay, so there's multiple lending companies with multiple options. The lending environment is changing every day, so you want to educate yourself to establish the best funding options. Know that we are not forcing people to purchase franchises. So we like to let our clients know that they have rights. All right, nobody's holding a gun to your head saying you have to do this. In fact, we're just a coach or mentor to help you go through this process, since we've done it thousands of times. So you have the right to say yes, you have the right to say no. We're happy to give you this client bill of rights so you know exactly what you're able to do. But overall, I think if you go down this process, you'll find it's a very fun and rewarding process. And trust me, I've been in business ownership for decades. I don't think there's any better way to live your life, at least with your career, other than business ownership. Is it a roller coaster ride? Yes, but I think it's a roller coaster ride worth riding. So one of the first questions we like to ask our clients when we're doing this workshop live is, imagine yourself as a successful business owner. How would your life be better? Can you get rid of the career pain, or can you achieve the career gains that you're trying to achieve? Our typical client is usually about 45 to 55 years of age, sometimes a little bit older, sometimes a little bit younger, and usually in some type of career transition. And they're telling themselves, or at least asking themselves, hey, do I think I want to go back into a career or corporate job when corporate jobs are in such unrest right now? Well, usually the answer is, hey, if I knew I could be successful, I'd rather own my own business. You know, that's why you're here. So why do people go into business? And what you're looking at this chart is the number one reason is success. They just want better success for themselves and for their family. Or it might be more fulfillment. They might want more time, flexibility, independence, more financial security, or maybe they're just tired of layoffs, you know, having corporate America be in control of their career. Or maybe it's more money. You know, what is it that they're trying to achieve? But yet most people will choose to work for someone else. And the question is, why? Well, the number one reason is risk. You know, the unfortunate part about going into business ownership is it's not always successful. If it was always successful, there would be lines out our door every single day of the week of people wanting to own their own business. So a lot of people might feel that a job is safer than a business, or they might wait until the economy is better. Or, hey, do they have enough money or knowledge or skill sets to run a business? And so the methodology and research that we have to go through is try to show you how to close this window of risk as much as possible using the tools, techniques, the research process that we've been doing for years, so you can make a safe and wise decision. So is going to work for someone else safe? Short term, yes, it is. You know, if you land a job today, you'll most likely have a paycheck for the next week or two. But can you be sure your job is going to be around in 6 months, 12 months from now? Even if you have very good performance. Look, I just saw somebody here in my local town who had 100% job satisfaction performance rating from his boss. He was laid off 2 weeks ago after 100% satisfaction rate. And the business was doing better than it's ever done. So can you determine security? No, not really with the job, unfortunately. Or, hey, a lot of people say, hey, I just can't meet my long-term financial goals of security and retirement with the job. So there's very little risk in a job up front, but generally as time goes on, the risk of the job goes up, as you see in that graph. Business ownership is exactly the opposite. In business ownership, the greatest risk is in the beginning. And as time goes on, the risk of the business goes down as methodologies, systems get in place, customer base is pretty solid. And the nice thing about business ownership is that no one can take it away from you. It can't be downsized, transferred, or fired. You can build the business as large or as small as you want. And the longer you own the business, the safer it becomes. So exactly the opposite of a job. So you've played by the rules, but the rules are changing. So job security is a thing of the past. Income security can be something of the future. So, but what about starting a business now? Are you concerned about the economy and can it impact your business? So how you lower the risk and what type of business characteristics do you look for to try to lower that risk? Well, like I said earlier, most of our clients are focusing on what we call essential services, okay? Now, This slide that you're looking at right now was actually developed prior to COVID-19. So as you look at some of those businesses, you might say to yourself, well, some of those businesses are the ones that were most affected by COVID-19. Now, you're absolutely correct, but they're still essential. All right. They are services that every single business or person generally uses no matter what, whether it's senior care, residential repairs and modification, cleaning services, COVID-19 cleaning services, hair care, fitness, automotive, damage restoration, business consulting, business services, you name it, they all tend to be essential. All right, so that's where most of our clients are focusing right now. Now, what are your different options for going into business? Well, you can start a business from scratch, you can buy an existing business, or you can start a franchise. So let's go over the pros and cons of each methodology. So starting a business from scratch, it is the most entrepreneurial thing that you can do. It's the way every single business on this planet started, whether it's Amazon or Google or FranNet or Lee Hecht Harrison or your local grocery store, it doesn't matter. That business, somebody had an idea and started a business out of it. So they were able to have total control, make all the decisions, have all kinds of room for creativity, build a business from your passion, and no predetermined rules. The disadvantages is that you have to create everything. You have to create all the systems. You have to create all the methodologies. What are you going to name the business? What are the logo colors going to be? What software are you going to use? What's your sales process? What's your accounting process? How are you going to staff the business? How many customers do you need to properly support the business? And so therefore, there's a lot of unknowns, usually too many unknowns in starting a business from scratch. And that's what scares people. So you got to create everything. Usually the financing is very hard, very long, slow ramp up period. So therefore a very high failure rate in going into business ownership as far as starting a business from scratch. Then there's buying an existing business. Well, buying an existing business might be one of the safest ways to go into business. You're looking at business that currently exists right now, that you can see the cash flow, you can see the customers, you can see its location, you can see its territory. In other words, it's a tangible item that you're able to research. So you're able to look at its actual financial results. Like I said, the customer base, the employees, the systems are there. You might be able to get owner financing. The unfortunate part about existing businesses is that what is the true cash flow of the business? Will there be bad will? In other words, will customers follow the owner and not follow you? What should the business actually sell for? There's no MOS system like there is in home sales. And so it's hard to determine what a business should sell for. And quite often, accounting agencies are involved in trying to assess the actual value of the business. So are you paying too much for the business compared to what it's truly worth? Are you going to get the proper training and support? Or why is this seller really selling if it's such a good business? Now, the general rule of thumb is 2/3 of all businesses tend to sell to a friend, family, or acquaintance. In other words, they were never on the open market or through a business brokerage or on some of the websites out there like bizbuysell.com, which is the largest website for existing businesses that are for sale. And so I know every single business that I've purchased or sold through the years has been through some type of acquaintance. In other words, I just got one done about 2 to 3 months ago, and it's through somebody that I knew. We created the transaction and it was done in about 30 to 60 days. And that's the way most businesses are sold and purchased. And so they're generally not on the open market. So they're generally hard to find. The third option is buying a franchise. Well, what are the advantages of purchasing a franchise? So basically when you purchase a franchise, you are given this cookbook and recipe and how to run this business. In other words, this franchisor has been running this style of business for many, many years. They have refined it through the years to create a better recipe. And they're constantly refining it. And so you can get a lot of name recognition, a proven business system, which is really what you're purchasing, proper training and support, lower failure rate, lower cost, full disclosure, which we'll get into here shortly. And then the last one is the franchise family. So not only do you have the support of the franchisor, but you also have the support of your fellow franchisees. So a lot of our clients elect, in fact, the vast majority of our clients elect to purchase a franchise because they've never been in business before. And so they want that system, the process, and the cookbook to follow so they can most likely have success in business ownership. But there's disadvantages to buying a franchise too. Look, not every industry is franchisable. There is a structured operating system. So if you're the type of person that is a true entrepreneur and likes doing things differently compared to most people, oh, maybe franchising isn't right for you because franchising is about following that system. There might be territory restrictions. You can generally only sell the products and systems of that particular franchise. But probably the main disadvantage is that last bullet point, which is ongoing royalty payments, which we'll go to here in this next slide. So when you purchase a franchise, not only are you purchasing the business and the products and the equipment, and if there's build out, some of the construction and build out for the business, but you're given the name and trademarks and products and business systems in exchange for an initial franchise fee and ongoing royalties. So in any particular franchise, you are usually going to pay some type of initial franchise fee. And the typical initial franchise fee is about $25,000 to $50,000. Think of it as kind of like the membership fee of going into a country club. When you join a club, you pay a one-time membership fee, and then you pay monthly dues. Well, that one-time membership fee is the initial franchise fee, and then the monthly dues would be the ongoing royalties. Typical ongoing royalties for just about any type of franchise, there are some exclusions to it, but any type of franchise will usually have a royalty of about 5 to 7%, maybe an additional 1 to 2% on top of that for some type of advertising or marketing fees that goes back to the franchisor on a monthly basis. Now, it's usually a percentage of gross sales as well. So the franchisor wants you to do better because the better you do, the more royalty will pay. So therefore, the better the franchisor will do. So therefore, they want to help you out. As I mentioned in franchising, there is disclosure. So the Federal Trade Commission mandates that every franchisor produce what's called a franchise disclosure document, or you'll usually hear the term FDD. Usually this document is provided to about 2 to 3 weeks in the research process of researching a franchisor. So usually by then, you and the franchisor have spoken a couple times, you got some materials from them, and you're both looking at each other saying, I want to keep moving forward. Not obligating myself to anything, but I want to keep researching. So the franchisor will give you their FDD, which will tell you what your rights are, what their rights are. Do you get a protected territory or not? In other words, can the franchisor displace another location right down the street from you? We highly suggest that you get a protected territory. I'm going to skip that highlighted section for a second. They will give you any types of earnings claims or financial representations, which is usually one of your first questions that you want to have answered, which is how much money can I make and what's the financial performance of their franchisees? Well, if they disclose that, that'll be disclosed in item number 19 in their disclosure document called financial representations. They have to give you audited financial statements on the franchisor so you can make sure that they're financially solid. What's the management policy? Can you put a manager in place to run the business for you so you can back away? How do you renew this agreement? How long does the agreement last? How do you sell the agreement? How do you sell the business? So all that is laid out within this franchise disclosure document. Now let me go back to the highlighted section, the listing and contact info for the franchisees and past franchisees. If you do this process correctly, and where we will coach you the most and give you the questions to ask, not only the franchisor, but we're going to give you questions to ask and coach you through the process of talking to the franchisees. These are all the franchisees that are running this business day in and day out. So you're going to want to talk to them. Now, in that disclosure document, you are given a list of every single franchisee, their names, addresses, and phone numbers, how long they've been in the business, and this is also broken down by state, so you can make it geographic specific. This is the part of the process when the general public tries to do this on their own. They skip this because they don't know if they can do it. It is the most important part of the entire research process of talking to the franchisees that are running these businesses day in and day out. So you're able to get information directly from the horse's mouths, whether they do it again, how would they do it differently, how profitable are they, how's the training, how's the support, and so you can get a tremendous amount of information from them. You're also able to talk to franchisees that have sold, find out why did they sell, how did they sell, what type of multiple did they get for the business? Because, hey, you're building an asset here. Not only do you get the annual income from the business, but you're also building an asset that you can sell in the future. And also they have to list you any franchisees that were unsuccessful and had to close their doors. So you can see, hey, broken down by state, how has that worked? And you're able to talk to those franchisees as well. So current and past franchisees will let you know the success or failure rate of the particular franchise. So which is not true of researching an independent business. Only franchising allows this extensive research of utilizing past results. Now, does it absolutely predict with 100% future results? No, But if you do enough research, and usually suggest you talk to about half a dozen to a dozen franchisees in any given franchise, it will give you quite a bit of information. And it will also close that window of risk that we talked about earlier, because you're able to do unbiased research on the particular franchises that you're researching. Now, one of the biggest trends that we saw prior to COVID-19, and we're also seeing it during COVID-19, granted it has slowed down a little bit, but we expect it to pick right back up, is what we call semi-absentee ownership. Semi-absentee ownership is designed for people who either want to supplement their income, have additional income sources, maybe they're full-time employed right now, but they want to diversify their income or diversify their portfolio, or quite frankly, create kind of an insurance policy or safety net in case they're ever let go from their company or their job. So these businesses are designed to be not absentee run, but semi-absentee run. Usually requires about 10 to 20 hours of work per week, really just oversight, because the manager who's running the day-to-day operations of the business is reporting to you. I've had multiple semi-absentee businesses through the years, and it's great. I kind of call them oil wells, because these businesses are generating income for you, whether you were there or not. And it's a great feeling. And it's a great side of business ownership, which most people only dream of going to, but know that they're a franchise specifically designed for semi-absentee ownership. Now, semi-absentee ownership usually has a slightly higher investment, because generally they are location sensitive. In other words, they have a physical location to them. There is a manager that you pay for that manages the day-to-day operations, and usually they drive customers into that business via advertising dollars. Now, these are some of the segments as well. There's many other segments that are in semi-absentee franchising, and we're seeing more and more segments come out every single month, because the franchisors know that this is the segment that a lot of people want to concentrate on, because it kind of gives you the best of all worlds. So you get to keep your job. The owners work in kind of generally after hours. You can monitor the business remotely. A lot of these franchises become so sophisticated that you can literally run the business from your iPad and just kind of oversee it. You're able to see its current financial results. You're able to look at the staffing. You're able to look at the advertising. How effective is the advertising? You're able to look at the expenses of the business from anywhere on the planet. You know, the nice thing about business ownership is becoming more and more flexible of how you can run these businesses. And it's usually our clients will use these as a growth and investment to hedge against economic changes. So let's start getting into the myths and realities of franchising. So myth number one, franchising is only fast food and retail. Generally, when I give this program or this webinar in person, I'll usually ask the crowd to start naming specific franchises to me. Usually they will name somewhere between half a dozen to a dozen different businesses. Some will be non-franchises, some will be franchises, but usually the common denominator of the names of the franchise that people will answer are food. When people think of franchising, they think of McDonald's, Burger King, Subway, Taco Bell, and that's all they think franchising is. What I want you to know is that there are thousands of choices. Last count, there was a little over 3,600 different franchises broken up in more than 90 different industries. So know that there's lots and lots of choices. It is not just food and retail. Franchise succeed because of the quality of the product. Generally not. So if you look at the golden arches here, the product isn't that great. You know, can you make a hamburger better than McDonald's? Yes, but why do we as consumers continue to go into McDonald's and eat their food if it's not the best food in the world? The answer is they have systems, okay? It's not the product, it's the systems of the business. It's the marketing, the sales, the operation, the accounting. McDonald's knows how to get us in there as consumers, even though it's not the best product in the world. So when I tell people when they're researching franchises, research the system of the business, because that's what you're actually writing a check for. That's what you have to be a believer in, is the actual system of the franchise. The marketing and the product, your customers have to fall in love with. You know, should you like it as well? Yes, it definitely helps. But you need to be a believer in the systems of the business, because that is what you're actually purchasing as a business owner. Franchises emerge in new industries with no new competitors. So time and time again, I am asked, whether it's at a dinner party or on the street or whatever the case may be, Hey, but what are the most successful franchise? In other words, what's hot? That's why I'm asked all the time. Well, franchise emerge from industries where they usually create consolidation. In other words, there's lots of independents that are currently doing right now, but the franchisor has found a better way to create market dominance. They usually have better purchasing power. They usually have more money, better marketing power. They're usually able to use the size of the franchise to really create market share. And so the competition might be good, but there's room for growth. And franchise do not emerge in segments where there is no competition. It is very, very rare where the franchisor is the kind of the first person to do it. Franchisors usually emerge from industries where there's lots of independents, and then they just gobble up the independents because they have a better way of doing it. So what is the average initial investment range for a franchise? Well, I would say right now our average client is spending somewhere between $150,000 to $250,000 on the total investment of their business. Do we get clients that want to spend less than $100,000? Absolutely. In fact, that's one of the better ways to reduce risk is to spend less. Do we have clients that spend over $500,000? Absolutely. If they start looking at multiple units, multiple territories, or a large, very large territory. But I would say on average, our typical client will spend about $150,000 to $250,000 as far as total cost on their business. That includes the franchise fees, training fees, equipment, initial working capital, which is money just set aside for a rainy day fund, everything to properly open the business. So how much do you need? Well, of the total investment, so let's say the total investment is $150,000 for use as an example. Usually about 25 to 30% will be your money, and then you get the financing for the remaining 70 to 75%. Now, the financing is the tricky part these days. When most people think of business financing, they think of the SBA. Well, the SBA is just a service through the banks out there. Well, in the COVID-19 era, most of these banks have just been flooded with PPP loans. And so they're not really focusing on small business loans. Are small business loans getting done right now? Yes, but few and far between. And so most of our clients are self-financing their businesses. So they'll usually use personal savings, friends, home equity lines, seller financing, it's a resale. And then there's that last bullet point, which I want to emphasize again, because I would say about 70, 75% of our clients are using the ROBS methodology to fund their business, which is where they'll use retirement funds, their 401k or IRA, to fund their business. Like I said earlier, on those three financing companies, they're some of the best financing companies in the industry, and they will help educate you on the ROBS program. But you're able to use retirement funds without early withdrawal fees and without penalties. In other words, become your own bank. And the reason why a lot of our clients look at that methodology is say, look, if I can take some money out of the stock market and invest it in myself, in my own business, doesn't mean I have to liquidate my IRA or anything like that. I'm just taking some funds out of it to fund my business. You can do that. And a lot of people like that methodology. So like I said, talk to those financing companies. They're the experts in all the various sources of financing. The only thing I wanted to get across to you is most of our clients right now are self-financing. Yes, we do see some small business loans happening. We still see some home equity lines of credit happening. I have many clients doing that right now since the housing market is still strong, but in general, it'll be self-financed. Myth number 5, well, based on income and based on investment, is there a correlation between the investment and the amount of money that I can make? And the answer is no, there is no correlation. Now, a lot of people fight us on this right in the beginning, but as they start to look at franchises, and usually our clients will look at 3-4 different franchises at any given point in time, and they're comparing, contrasting the businesses, and they actually find that this holds true. In other words, you don't have to spend a lot of money if one of your goals is to make a lot of money. So you're probably scratching your head saying, well, how is that? You know, the more money I spend on a house or a car, probably nicer house or car I'm gonna get. Hey, the more money I spend on like a stock or mutual fund, the higher return I expect or the better the company is. Doesn't that hold true in franchising? And the answer is no, it does not. Okay, which is a good thing for you. It means that you don't have to spend a lot of money if one of your goals is to make a lot of money. Myth number 6, industry experience is required. Quite the opposite. Franchisors want you to have the skill set to run the business. In other words, if the business is sales intensive, have you done sales in the past? If the business is employee intensive, have you managed teams of employees in the past? If the business is a one-man show or one-person show, have you worked as a sole worker before? In other words, they just want you to have the skill sets, like I mentioned. They don't want you to have specific industry experience. In fact, they definitely don't want that. They're going to focus you on being the owner. They want with business and management skills and with people and communication skills. So they will have the proven process to train you on how to use their systems. So how do you find the right fit for you? So if you look at this sea of 3,600 plus different franchises, how do you find the one that's right for you? Well, you need to ask yourself a few questions first. Are you willing to follow the franchisor system? Is the business affordable? Or what is affordable or a budget that is palatable for you? Is the risk level acceptable? Will you enjoy the business? In other words, what will drive you out of bed in the morning to say to yourself, hey, not only am I getting all the things I want in life and out of my business, but I'm also having fun. I'm really enjoying doing this. So identify your financial and your lifestyle goals 5, 10, 20 years from now, because the whole reason for going into business to help you achieve these goals. So you got to ask yourself, start with the end in mind by what is it that I'm trying to achieve? And every single one of us has different wants, different needs, different desires, and therefore different goals. And so you got to be real honest with yourself of what is it that you're trying to achieve? Because the whole idea is to get there, and this business is just going to be a vehicle to get you there. What's important to you? Are you trying to get more challenge, recognition, prestige? Are you trying to build equity for retirement? Is time for family and personal interests? In other words, do you have young kids and you want to coach their games? You've never been able to do that in the past. I still have young kids. I have a 15-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old son. It's important for me to be a dad and to be around and to have that time while they're still here in the house to help them go through that. Independence, control, financial security. Can you transfer your skill sets? In other words, what are you very good at doing? Are you good at sales or marketing or operations and management or customer service? And the businesses that you're looking at, do they emphasize or capitalize on your personal skill sets? So we have an assessment tool that'll help assess you to figure out what are your skill sets and how do they apply to business or franchise ownership. So one of the things that you'll want to do if after this webinar, you were able to answer yourself, you know what, I want to keep moving forward. I want to see if this is right for me and what types of franchise are right for me. Then you're going to take our assessment tool. So this is where you're going to want to get your phone ready, okay? Because the QR code is going to come up and it'll take you right to the assessment tool to be able to take the assessment. So it'll look at your core competencies, it'll look at your motives, it'll look at your personality styles, it'll look at your values, it'll take a sample financial snapshot, it'll ask you questions of what you think you'd like to find in a business, in other words, some specific characteristics, and there's the QR code. Okay, so I'll give you a minute to take a picture of that QR code, which will take you, again, right to the secure online assessment tool. And when you fill out that assessment, it'll take about 20 to 30 minutes to do. It'll route directly to me and to you. And it'll produce about a 14 to 15 page report for you. Then once we have that report, we're going to want to create a business model together. And the business model is all specific business preferences, at least you think in the beginning, because this is kind of a living document. It'll change as you start to research businesses. I like to use the analogy of going to look at houses for sale. When you first sit down, you should kind of think about, well, how many bedrooms do I want? What type of square footage? What schools districts do I want to be in? How many car garage? Do I want a pool in the backyard? And then you'll look at businesses that meet that criteria. Now, as you start looking at houses, you might see some houses that have some different nuances to them or different things in them. You might say, well, that's really neat. I want to have that in my house. I didn't even think of that. Well, your business model will change along the way as well. Like I said, it's kind of a living document, but we're going to ask questions around employees, budgets, business environment. In other words, do you want it more home-based, office-based, retail-based, light industrial-based? Are you going to want to emphasize on semi-absentee or full-time businesses? How do you think you want to grow your business? What type of customers do you want to work with, more B2B or business to consumer? Is this more of a service or product? In other words, there's all kinds of different questions. Some you may have the answers to, some you may not, but you'll have some preferences in the beginning. Once we have that business model and the assessment, that's when we can start making matches to specific businesses. So this is an actual example of a business model that we'll create for our clients, which is, again, kind of the recipe of your ideal business, of what you're trying to achieve. So we'll literally type this up for you, get it to you after our main initial meeting, and then we'll be able to identify the specific franchise that you should be researching. Like I said earlier, you'll usually look at 2, 3, maybe 4 different franchises at any given point in time. As you eliminate some, we'll add some. But hopefully, if all goes well, the proper research process usually takes about 2 to 3 months from the time we originally meet to the time you ultimately decide to purchase a franchise and actually sign the franchise agreement. Again, it takes about 2 to 3 months, and we will walk you through the whole research process along the way. Some of the additional resources we suggest you use, we're going to highly suggest that you use a franchise attorney and a CPA to help you dot your I's, cross your T's. These are attorneys and CPAs that specialize in franchising, which is a very different business methodology. And so therefore we have some that are vetted, that our clients have really been pleased with over the years, that are in your local area, and we'll get you in contact with them. There's a few books that we suggest you read. The one on the right, called Street Smart Franchising, is a book that we give the vast majority of our clients. The best book that we've seen written on researching and acquiring a franchise. We'll also give you a copy of More Than Just French Fries, which is a book that we wrote. It's an Amazon bestseller. And then a book that we don't give you, but we suggest that you read, is called The E-Myth. It's just been a book that's been around for decades, been revised many, many times. Just a very, very good business book to read. So I want to thank you all for attending this webinar. I hope it taught you quite a bit. I highly suggest that you reach back out to me, because I'm sure you have some questions from the webinar that you'd like to go over. So that's how you get in contact with me. That's my cell phone, which is 760-473-4342. You can text me directly. I know the majority of you that are watching this webinar are going to be in the Pacific Northwest. And so we specialize, or I personally specialize in Pacific Northwest, but I definitely have clients that I help move out of the area, move into the area, or hey, were referred to me by a local resource and they want to work directly with me. But know that we do have offices throughout the country that can work with you too. Again, the next step that you want to do, if you don't have any more questions and you do want to keep moving forward, is to go to the assessment tool, which you should have the QR code. If you didn't quite grab it, if you write down that www.frannet.com/bnicol/CQ, that'll get you directly to it. Other than that, feel free to reach out to me. I hope you enjoyed it. Be safe, be well, be healthy, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you, and enjoy your day.